Hello everyone. The title of today's episode is a very playful one. And it's titled Karma Like Cold Tea. Yeah? And so I'm going to be speaking about the essence. I'm going to be speaking about the essence of karma and just me, how Mr.Within as just one human being sees just that concept and just what is the way to handle it. You see, you can go up to someone and say, when something bad happens, karma's a bitch, speak very ignorantly, And you can also see that, let's say, they pour you hot tea at a gathering, at some kind of like family gathering, and there's some kind of big gathering, and then you're in a conversation with someone so much that you forget that your tea is there and the tea gets cold, you see? And so you may say, oh man, why do I have this kind of karma? Oh gosh, why is life like this? But you see that in actuality, if karma is action, and this action is how would I tell you, like if this action is constantly happening, so pretty much the way beyond karma is to be aware of how you are behaving and acting and how you are being expressed within the moment. When you wonder about the true nature of this, it's very beautiful, because if it's your time, if just like how a flower sprouts, blooms, so similarly when it's your time, if it is your time, you're going to suddenly see that beyond the movement of duality, because the moment has never went anywhere. Your moment of existence has not moved, but everything within your moment of experience has. This suggests that the mind and body have a transcendental relationship beyond just the world of objectivity, being able to understand the fascination of imagination and why that word is even made. And it's not just about exploring, an unknown nation of images. It is to recognize that whatever language we use, we are aligning the focus of civilization to its next advancement through it. We are all architects of what we leave behind, and that means we all influence reality. And so when I see like people living like, lamas, Tibetan lamas, sadhus, Zen monks, Zen masters, yogis. When I see these meditators, these people, I see that they are to some degree being more mindful to the architecture of their moment, because they're considering that their consequence is relevant to how they are originating self and how the self is being originated within the moment. That means there's two views. There's an unknown natural intelligence that is keeping you here, but there's also a known natural and to some degree, how would I say it, engineered intelligence, man-made engineered intelligence here. So that means we have to acknowledge both paradigms and to create space for future possible discoveries, Do you believe it that before the 1700s, many places around the world, they looked at the world and they saw that the world had a soul too? But it's as if and what that meant is they acknowledged that there was an intelligence beyond their individual intelligence, because they're just a small part of it. Do you see? So what that means is existence the will of God? And to a religious man, he will say yes. And then you ask, is God the will of existence? And you are going to see that beyond God there is no existence. And God has no partner. And in ancient beautiful texts such as the Quran, in Islamic culture, it says God, to some degree, this is one English translation of it. Of course, I can't read Arabic, but it says Allah, the Lord of the worlds, And so it's very fascinating for me, because when we have the word all, A-L-L, in the English language, which we acknowledge everything, and then we have the word Allah, so it seems to be never suggesting to violent individualism, but into collective unity in some manner. So in the Quran it says, there's Allah has the one and only God has no partner. So what that means is, we see to some degree what were the greatest teachings of religion, that beyond the idols of man's worship, the presence was divine. And so we can choose to dull reality down based on modern times, but modernity has much to learn, especially in yogic tradition, when they see that we're coming into a Kali Yuga. And you know, something just Mr. Within has just personally noticed out of all the religions in the world, I think the pattern was that the most ancient religions were in direct experience and communication with the intelligence of the cosmos, with God, do you know? But then, as you know, again, we came into Kali Yuga, let's say from a yogic context, it was as if suddenly the intelligence of the world, there was more ignorance. It's as if the whole world wanted to just build more objective stuff than just keep it in that subjective unified experience. So what that means is suddenly out of collectivity, the collectivity of just absolute being, suddenly a duality occurred because consciousness was just put into one range of it. Do you know what that means? That means, imagine like we have like one circle, and I just divide it in two, and let's say we're also considering the yin yang circle, and we suddenly see one part of it is like where our one consciousness has gone in. So we're like, oh look, the world is bad, you know. But then we can see that there's another consciousness that's like, oh, the world is good. So what I find is hilarious, that good and bad people actually have their attention. So the good person has his attention on a bad world to try to be good, and the bad person has his attention on a good world to try to be bad. And so I find subconsciously these people are doing the opposite. And to some degree, what I'm saying is that it was as if your moment didn't have to be limited to the restrictions of a person when you're the whole presence of intelligence. There is a presence of intelligence regardless of, it's like imagine, you know, a fish in the ocean thinking that everything is just the fish. You know, it is not. Everything is the ocean's intelligence as well, the way it moves, you know. And in the Avadhuta Gita, we're said that the mind, or you know, that like the who you are is like as if a wave in a shoreless sea. And that means out of infinity we have just manifested as the finite, and we are saying, oh no, but infinity is right here. You know, chaos and order are two eyes that see the same, and what they see is a moment beyond ideological preference. You are the source of language. And you are the source of your experience. When you realize that there is a self-existent quality to you. And so in Farsi, so you know, in the summer sometimes when I go to Iran to visit my family, people use the word Khoda for God, and Khod means self. So Khoda is a suggestion of self-existent intelligence. And when we wonder what is greater than self-existent intelligence, we see nothing of a dualistic and cause and effect view can fit in, because it is instantaneous, it is spontaneous, it is unquestionable, because it is always the answer of whatever it sees next. Even though I am a human body, even though I'm some, you know, person who has been 25 years around the sun, I can tell you what moves the eyes of planets and galaxies is not something that can be seen. Imagine like a blood cell in your body suddenly wants to realize the true nature of the God that is you, which is your whole body and intelligence right now. You're going to see whatever belief system it creates in relation to a blood cell is always so small, because it is just such a tiny part of existence when we're in a universe of 1 billion trillion stars. I see many people going to the gym, but many people also need to advance their minds. So I find actually some of the most people accelerating in fitness and in just physical to some degree like achievements these people after some point are going to wonder, okay, now what? And then they're going to see the beauty of their mind. And so the greatest realization that comes to any polymath is to recognize that the fields of knowledge, the different branches of knowledge, were not separate. All the branches of knowledge come into the tree. And so they go deep down, and suddenly the roots branch out too in the realm of the soil. So what that means is, this is how knowledge is, guys. Whenever your eyes look out, I want you to see that as the oneness of the trunk. But whatever you receive, like whatever branches and different multidimensionality and multiplicity of knowledge and content you see in this world, these are all branches. So the external reality has a branched out sense of individuality from the oneness of opened eyes, you know. And so then within you, whatever you see outside suddenly is refabricated in a subtler, in your subtler abstract ways. That means you actually imagine reality and then adjust it to all the memories you have ever had to comprehend an idea. You know, and this is of course happening in your cellular planes. The more still and silent you become as a person, the more attention you have to this. You know, extrasensory perception is actually a ridiculous idea, you know, and even the concept of a sixth sense, because there is an attention right now as I'm speaking to all beings who are listening to this talk. There's an attention within your attention that has nothing to do with the senses, because it is observing it. And because it is observing it, we use the word consciousness because it is conscious of something, but then this consciousness can go into certain states where it just becomes pure awareness. When it becomes pure awareness, it's very fascinating, because you're no longer a person in a field of activity, you are just the field of activity. That means it's very fascinating. It's like, you know, one way of getting knowledge is you going on Google and searching things. Another way of knowledge is in your stillness and silence of being, and how your attention to without has always been within, and you get certain enlightening cognitive realizations of the true nature of your being. You're going to suddenly see in the emptiness and that thoughtless state, selfless state, suddenly you're going to become all knowledge. Do you see? So some poets actually are being the worlds that they are communicating on the page. So all these words that you're hearing from me, to some degree, they are experientially real in my subtler planes of abstraction, or to some degree how we call beyond the fence of vague imagination. You know, so it's there's more here. There's more that can be done. Our objectivity, every idea, every individuality, just duality, whatever you see dualistically, my friends, it is a platform into your unity. You know, the clouds will fade and the limitless sky will speak as it always has. We are not limited on the ground. We're just being, you know, reminded to remember the absolute within. That means as much as there's a need for exploration of outer technologies, there's also a need for the exploration of inner technologies, which come into the recalibration of consciousness as something that is beyond an idea, because it is witnessing every idea. So when you go in the park and you see a tree, you see that that tree is outside of you. You see, okay, I'm not that tree, I'm just some guy looking at a tree in a park, you know. But then when you wonder about how your eyes are open, keeping that intelligence, then you wonder about how the eyes of the cosmos are open to keep you here. Do you see? And what this implies is that you know that you're not the tree because you're observing it. So there will come moments where you will see, you know, you're not the idea, the very heavy ideas of yourself that you have picked up in this life, you know, because you're observing it. You see that, you know, if you see that you're truly suffering, you're beyond that suffering. So stop thinking you're suffering. You know, don't even think. The word thought is a war on its own. Do you know how many mystics have just the moment, you know, the concept thought was created, just like some innate divine command within all mystics of this world began urging, just some intelligence was just happened to say no, you know? Like beyond thought there is greatness. And I find it fascinating, guys, because, you know, when you look at the human being, it's as if like 1/3 of its life it's asleep. Do you know that, how crazy that is? That means from the moment we're born, just all that time, through all these days that we have been alive,